I fixed it where I can have it running properly on how I want it to run. And it was just simply orientating the camera a certain way. So we're going to set this on the stand now and adjust the camera for y'all. We'll get on our merry way, as they say. Alrighty. So this is going to be like a little chill stream where you guys get to kind of see what I do when I fix GPUs, or how I fix them, or how I go about it. And we got 3 GPUs we're going to look at. One of them that I've been messing around with for a while, that's actually something I thought I fixed, but it was giving me troubles. Part of the reason why I never sold it. We'll get to that later. This machine right here, or hard piece of hardware right here, this is actually an old GTX 580, back from like, I think 2011 or 2010 this thing came out. So if y'all want to take a look there, let me pop my screen so I can see that I'm doing things properly. Yeah, so I mean, this card is quite a beauty for one of these older cards. So definitely pretty. So yeah, let me just make sure that the audio is all set again. And there we go. All right, you got that. We're good. I think we're ready to go. I make sure I have chat pulled up. Anyone starts chatting, and again, feel free to chat if you're watching, if you want to talk. So we're going to look at a few GPUs. We're not going to look at this one first. We're actually going to open one that I got in today to look at, and it's a GTX 1070, so something a lot more modern. So yeah, let's get started with that. Let me get the package over here. So for starters, the packaging I don't like. This packaging is not something I'd recommend if you're selling a GPU and you're shipping it out. I would prefer that you would send something with more space, because these boxes get thrown around at the United Postal Service, and there could very likely be shipping damage here, that the damage wasn't there before it was shipped. And then we're going to see how well this is wrapped. Okay, so I mean, he's got some foam here. So open it up. Oh, so we got some foam, some bubble wrap. I mean, it's not bubble wrap that great. Yeah, this thing may have, I'm making a mess. This thing may very well have shipping damage, which is going to be very unfortunate. So, yeah, this is not. I'm kind of disappointed, because the person I bought this from is someone that sells a lot of just used PC parts. You'd think they'd know better. So this thing's never been opened, so we still got our warranty sticker on here, unless it was removed and put back on. This is an Asus single fan blower style card, and it is indeed a Turbo GTX 1070 8GB model. Looking at it, I don't see any damage. And I put on a light. I wonder if this is going to affect the lighting on the stream or make it better. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. All right. So I don't see any physical damage. It looks like there was adhesive, like some sort of big sticker that ran across right here. But I'm not seeing any physical damage for starters. Definitely is dirty. This thing has been in a system for some time. Now, let me start by saying that a lot of these older GPUs that you see for parts on eBay, a lot of the time they can be simply that the person that is selling them doesn't have the means to test it or test the GPU. It could very well be that the GPU, for instance, a lot of these 1070s or RX 580s and stuff like that were used for crypto mining. So they have like a crypto mining BIOS on them. So it's very well that they could have that. But it's also as likely that they can have physical damage because they've been around for so long and lots of things can randomly occur. So we have a lot of different things to look at here. I mean, it's dirty from initial glance, but I don't see any signs of damage anywhere. So we're going to plug this puppy in and we're going to see what's going on with that. So we're going to unplug our display port. Now, general rule when you are testing GPUs on a test bench, you're going to want to always use your HDMI. And the reason we're going to always use an HDMI is the fact that HDMI can be hot plugged in and out while the PC is on, and you'll get a display on your monitor. Whereas DisplayPort, you need to restart your system because the DisplayPort doesn't turn on unless the DisplayPort's already plugged into the GPU when you boot the computer. So we're going to place it in there, and we're going to get our PCI power over here. It is an 8-pin connector, which is pretty standard for these blower style cards for the 1070. The 1070s tend to have 8 pins. Sometimes they would come with 6 pins, but it was kind of rare. And we're going to plug our HDMI into our HDMI port. So this thing comes with 2 HDMI, 2 display ports, and then we have 1 DVI, which is actually really nice. It actually has more ports than a modern GPU would have. Fan spins, which is a good sign. So things I'm looking for, if you have a motherboard that has lights on it, for instance, if your motherboard has like boot setup lights or you have CPU, DRAM, VGA, if you're booting and you get stuck on VGA, your GPU's got an issue that you need to fix. All right, so we actually booted into Windows already. This card was not supposed to boot into Windows, but we are not at the full resolution, which is kind of bizarre. So maybe there's a VRAM issue here. Okay. Well, we were in Windows. I bought this technically broken. It was for parts on eBay. There would not be a boot. So unless the person I bought this from, their test bench is absolutely dead and it's not the GPU, this may be a very easy payday for me. And I can pull up, and I will pull up the listing real quick. Yeah, everything is reading on me. I don't want to knock that down. Again, this is kind of an impromptu thing I'm doing here, so mind with me here, bear with me. But the fact that the setup is not very great at the moment, I'm trying to figure all this out. I recently got this room to record all this stuff. So I think if I set up the monitor like this, we can better see what's going on. And no, the light's messing with it. If I turn the light, can you guys see it better? Does it fall into frame? I can also move the stand in. Yeah, let's move it in. We're just testing things out, gentlemen. Yeah. If we turn up that, there we go. All right. So everything seems to be initializing and showing in GPU Z, we have a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1070. Everything seems fine. So now we got to put it through some stress testing, put it through some games. But first we're going to hit it with MSI Afterburner and Combustor and run it through Combustor to see if we get any artifacting or any weirdness. Now, typically I like to start a Combustor test with the fans at cranked at full speed, especially on a blower card, because these cards tend to get very hot since there's only one fan on them. So if you hear the fan blazing in the background, that's why. And if there is an issue with the card and you don't have it, set up, it can cause an issue because you don't want to blow out the chip or kill the core by overheating it too much. But I am very surprised that this works just out of the box. This is kind of crazy. This GPU again was sold to me for about $35, not working. No display, fan spin. So I'm starting to think that, and I've noticed this a lot with older GPUs that I get, is that I think people are using a more modern HDMI cable, like fast HDMI, or I don't know the technical terms, but I've noticed that on older GPUs it can be finicky because it doesn't like the new HDMI cables, or again, I forget what they're called. Again, I'm not super well knowledgeable on HDMI cables themselves and like the different versions of it, and we can look it up actually while it's doing this test in the background. Versions of HDMI. So I'm assuming that people are testing things with HDMI 2.0 and 2.1, and for whatever reason, these old cards just do not like HDMI 2 or HDMI 2.1, because if someone, like again, the person I bought this from, is someone that buys this stuff on bulk. I can actually pull up the eBay listing. I don't know if I have eBay on this computer, actually. Yeah, no, I don't. Let me log into it. Turn the monitor around so my account isn't stolen. And I'll show you guys the listing. You guys can still kind of see it. There we go. I can now log into it safely. So yeah, I believe this is possibly because someone is using an HDMI 2.0 cable. But if you're buying GPUs in bulk that don't work, or just lots of GPUs, I would think that you would more thoroughly check them, because there's a lot of money you're throwing away if you're just like, oh, I plugged it in, doesn't show an image, just sell it cheap for broken. Unless like the margins are just crazy, where they're buying a bunch of GPUs for like extremely cheap. Because again, that can be very likely. Code. I got a code. Give me a second. All right, sorry about that. All right, I am back. I'm logged in. So let me show you guys what my listing was and I want to make sure that there's no address so I'm not doxing myself. There we go. So we will do that. All right, we'll turn this back around. I'll get hopefully this stream stuff set up properly where we'll have like me in the corner and a more high def camera. All right. So what do we got here? We have the same GPU as is, no video, Asus NVIDIA GeForce Turbo GTX 1070 8GB graphics card. So that is parts for repair, no video. That was the description of this GPU, and it was basically all the specs. And I believe the specs are even wrong on this. 3 DisplayPort, So it's actually 2 HDMI and 2 DisplayPort, and then 1 DVI. So if he got that wrong, yeah, those are 2 HDMI. I wonder if he got mixed up with his GPUs that he was selling, because this guy Data Inc. sells just a ton of GPUs. We got a 560 Ti, another 1070 blower card as is. See details. What's this one? No cables. Sold as is for parts repair. No video. This again is another 1070 being sold for the same amount that could. Oh no, never mind. This one has physical damage. That power PCI power is absolutely just dead. Yeah, that's a little more risky. But okay, but that's besides the point. So obviously this GPU, I wonder why he sold it as is for parts if it actually worked, unless he doesn't test his GPUs. But obviously he does, because he has some that he's selling. Um, Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, let's get on with this then. And I mean, we've been running this with a stress test in the background while multitasking, and I know it's just browsing, but browsing is still something. So this GPU obviously works. It's been running Combustor now for 5 minutes, and we don't seem to have an issue, which I thought we were going to have some more problems with. Excuse me. So yeah, I sincerely don't know why this was sold for parts. I mean, the temps are good. We're at 58C at the moment. Again, this is fan blowing at full speed. We'll actually put it back on auto, and we will see. Maybe it gets too hot. But again, these blower cards are made to, like, run at 80C, 85C while playing games. I wouldn't recommend that. If you have a GPU like this that is a blower and has a single fan, I recommend you manually set your fan speeds. Maybe not to 100%, but to some percentage that's higher, because you're gonna always run your GPUs hot. Like if I put my hand on the front of this right now, it's warm. It's very warm compared to like a 3 fan or a dual fan, and we're getting up to 67. So this thing is probably going to get up into, I believe, 80C or high 70s with the fans on auto, and this thing just does not crank when it gets warm. I am happy that it is working. I mean, I'm kind of upset that we didn't get to troubleshoot this one, but we have another one that I know for a fact we can troubleshoot. And then there's also an RX 580 that I've worked on before. I have 2 GPUs that I've fixed in the past that are giving me issues again, and I think it's not software. I think it's beyond that. It's hardware. I'm gonna move this back just a tad so you guys can see me in frame. Just yeah, let me just fix it. Sorry, guys. I'm again trying this. If I had fancier equipment, it would look a lot better and not be as like janky as we have it all set up. But at the moment, this is what we got to work with. All right. So yeah, I sincerely don't know what's wrong with this car. Like why he would sell it like this. And again, I want to preface this that if you are looking to buy a GPU used, um, and you don't regularly deal with this kind of stuff, don't buy a GPU that's for parts if you're going to use it for like your main rig, because you will not have anything to test it on if it doesn't work. you basically spent money on nothing. But again, if you have the ability to test stuff, like if you have a used system that you can make into a test bench and you can test GPUs, you can definitely make some money on the side because a lot of people just sell these and they work. I've had maybe 4 or 5 now out of like the 10 or 15 GPUs that I've already bought and worked on that they just work out of the box. Like the first GPU I did this with worked out of the box, that 2070 that we made a video on. So I mean, it's pretty crazy that it can do it. Oh, I guess we can play games. So it looks like it's staying around 78 to 77 C down here on our stress test. So we're gonna run Apex Legends because Apex Legends tends to be a game that will give graphics cards a little bit of a stuttering problem if they're not working properly. So we'll open up old Apex Legends and see what's going on there. Freaking Warzone trying to update. I don't play Call of Duty Warzone, but if y'all play Call of Duty Warzone, I don't get the fascination with it, and I hate the preloading shaders. I can never like test the game properly because it's always got some freaking issue. Yeah. And after we test this, I mean, I'm just gonna resell this on Java for. We're hearing some weirdness now. That was weird. Okay. For whatever reason, it was making a weird noise. Sometimes you'll have some coil whine on them. But let me just the FPS. So we're gonna let Apex do its thing. So I guess next we'll work on we'll plug in the 580. The 580 was sold for parts, but where I bought it from, where I bought the 580, it was like a Goodwill listing from eBay, and it was like a charity listing for like $10. So I thought, why not buy it? Because it gives me something just to have fun with and just kind of have as like a piece of history. But it was sold for parts, so it could very well not work, and then we have to fix it, which would kind of be a bummer if it didn't, because I kind of want it to work. I plan to use it on this test bench as like my I don't know, as like my kind of like work computer as I'm like doing stuff. We're in a new room too. Maybe I should have started with that. Is that this is a let Apex load in for whatever reason on the test bench. The CPU, the 9600K, just always begins loading the game very slowly. I don't know why. I think we have everything like on super low. Yeah. Give it a minute to warm up. I do also need to see if I can fix the video quality of this, because I've just noticed that it is shooting at 720p, and that is no bueno. Share highlights, enable flash. We can give ourselves filters. Ooh, we can put filters. Yeah, no. I'll probably figure this out later. Again, this is the first time we're doing this like this, so. Alright. Alright, so we're going to load into a quick straight shot revival in Apex and see what kind of performance we're getting. Right now, GPU is running at 51C in the menu, which is pretty normal. Usage seems fine. We got 8 gigabytes of VRAM to work with. It's only using 2 at the moment. So nothing funky going on there. This is one of those things, guys, where just I feel like people just don't pay attention. Or it's not the GPU that's the problem, because there's just so many factors. If you don't have a test bench that you know for a doubt doesn't have any issues, any cables that could be the problem, any component on the PC that could be the problem, a lot of the time it's possibly not the GPU that's the problem. GPU's at 94% usage. And Apex is one of those games that people are going to run on low settings for the max FPS. So it is entirely normal to have this at low settings. We can put it to the Cyberpunk test too, I believe. I wonder if the ASUS part of that is supposed to light up. It looks like it's supposed to light up, like it's an LED, but it's not on, which is a little weird. But that could just be like software. Oh, this is running fine, dude. We're running at 130 FPS jumping in. Yeah, this is running beautifully. Holy cow, this is running better than... I mean, we're at 50% GPU usage here, and we're running at an average 143, so we're hitting our 144 hertz monitor limit here. I've noticed that Apex Legends is one of those games too that primarily likes NVIDIA cards. Yeah, this is running so smooth. This card is ready to go. It's very ready to go and be sold. But Apex Legends, for whatever reason, runs really well on NVIDIA cards from what I've tested. And all the AMD cards I've had. So I have a RX 5700 XT that I got, which is marginally way better than this. But it doesn't run as smooth. It's just Apex Legends itself just doesn't, for whatever reason, does not run AMD cards as well as it does NVIDIA cards. And that's the case for a lot of games, to be honest. It just varies, I guess, on what the developers were using when they were, making the game. But just like a little fun fact, so if you like Apex Legends, from what I've seen, you probably want to go NVIDIA if that's, if you're going to be playing Apex. This is so smooth. This is smoother than my 1070 Ti I used to have. Yeah, we got some baddies here. Let's see what kind of damage we can do. I suck with this mouse, so this should be... I'm getting beamed. Okay. Oh, I'm down. Just like that, I'm down. Should probably let him kill me. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're running fine. I mean, we're running at 76C at auto. So if we cranked up the fan on this blower, it would run cooler. But I don't see any need for it because our frames are perfectly fine. This is a very good experience at the moment. See, now I'm invested in this match. I mean, everything is working fine with this card. I mean, we could put it through Cyberpunk, but I don't see a need to. Simply by the fact that this thing is just running Apex Legends so freaking well. Oh, down one. I'm the kill leader. That's crazy. I'm not even trying. I promise I suck at this game. Like, I'm not even close to being good at this game. I mean, you guys have seen me play it on the on the test bench when I'm testing games and stuff, and this is not typical of me. I have to use the Nemi here. Gold Havoc sounds nice. Came over here. This stream probably looks like something out of the freaking early or late 2000s. Some kid streaming COD. Oh, that's funny. Ooh, yeah, I'll swap. I'll swap. I like a flat line, but it's the gold is too good to pass up on. Uh-oh, he's down a gunfight. Alright, I think that's enough Apex Legends for us. Yeah, that's enough Apex Legends. I'm getting too deep into the game. So our GTX 1070 works out of the box, which is quite awesome. We didn't have to do anything, which is crazy. Which is very, very crazy. So now we're going to try GPU number 2. We're going to try that GTX 580, which is very outdated. I bought it because it was for a charity, and it was super cheap. I bought it for, like I said, for $12. Man, this thing is hot. Freaking hate blower cards. This is why I do not like blowers, people. So this thing right now is scorching hot because your single fan here is running at 50 to 40%, and it's not enough to cool the entire PCB. So that's why these blower cards tend to degrade quicker, because they're always getting so damn freaking hot. So if you have one of these cards and it's older, I recommend you crank up that fan speed to cool the chip as much as you can. But this thing, I mean, it works. It runs great, runs hot. Like, that's like cooked hot. But as long as the chip's fine, I mean, the chip was still at 60 to 70 C. So this thing's ready to be resold. We'll work on that in a little bit. But let's pull out that GTX 580. So the GTX 580 was the flagship GPU for NVIDIA back in, I believe, either 2010 or 2011. I'm going to say it was 2011. Let me pull it up here. GTX 580. I think this has a gig and a half of VRAM. And let's see. Yep. All right, NVIDIA GTX. It's got a gig and a half of memory. The clock speeds are absolutely atrocious on this. The core clock is 772 megahertz. It's got a 384-bit bus. It's got a 1002 megahertz memory clock. Wow. This was sold retail for $500, people. This was a $500 card back in the day. I bought it for $12. This thing probably can't play most modern games because I don't know the last time this thing got drivers. So we're actually going to need to probably uninstall the drivers and install the proper ones on this because the new ones won't work on it. But here's a look at it. This is the one that's in the picture thumbnail. This is a Zotac GeForce 580. And yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the last card we looked at, other than it being, very, very ancient. So let's get it plugged in, see if we can get an image out of it. It comes with 2 DVI and then 1 micro HDMI port. So I'm actually going to have to get my DVI cable. So you guys are going to have to give me a minute because we're not going to be able to test this thing without a DVI cable. So that's not supposed to be in there. One second, I found some speck of something in my PCI slot. We're not about to burn out our motherboard again. Handy dandy blower. There's something in there. All right, so I'm gonna plug it in. I'll get my DVI to HDMI. And we'll see if this thing is working properly. Hopefully it is. I have faith that it's going to work because, I mean, there's no reason to scam someone on a GTX 580, let's be honest. This thing is not really worth anything anymore. It's really just a collector's item at this point. I think this thing's basically on par, and it's better than my HD 5770. But it's basically on par with the the VRAM. So let me go get my DVI cable. All right, that. All right. I have the DVI cable. We're going to plug it in. It's been a while since I've used a DVI cable. It's not something people use anymore. I used to primarily use a DVI cable to HDMI back in the day. With my 970. Because all I had was a 60 hertz monitor, and the only way to get it to work to 75 hertz was to use a DVI to HDMI and turn down the resolution for Counter-Strike. I know a lot of people probably did that in the past. So that that is something I used to do way back in the day. And this is this exact cable for that. All right, we're plugged in, ready to go. Powered on. Whew! Full speed on the fans. That thing sounds atrocious. I have a feeling this thing is not working. Wait, no. I think the fan is just super freaking noisy. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Let me put the mic. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but the fan is really freaking loud. That's bad. That's really bad. All right. It's doing something. Because the keyboard is reacting. There we go. We're in. So it has an image. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to use DDU to uninstall the NVIDIA drivers on here because the latest version of NVIDIA drivers does not work with this graphics card. This graphics card lost driver support probably many years ago. And we will actually, while this is doing this, we will look at when was the last time NVIDIA. Oh, no, do not. Shit. I accidentally did it where it's not going to restart. DDU is a great software if you're testing GPUs to just quickly uninstall drivers on your PC. I have a bunch of display adapters on here. So we're going to clean it and restart. So while that's doing that, I'm going to come over here to my second PC and we're going to look at last driver. The last time this graphics card got a driver, I think is in 2018. So that was a long time ago. About 6 years ago. GTX 580. This thing is a very old GPU. So let me pull out the Radeon graphics from the same era so you guys can kind of see, because I know there's some younger people that are watching the channel, and back in the day GPUs did not look the way they do now. They were aesthetically very different. So this, my friends, is a Radeon HD 5770 Sapphire card back from 2009. So this card is a year younger than this card. This thing, I've shown it in one of my videos in the past. This thing has a whopping 1 gigabyte of GDDR5 RAM, where this has, I believe, GDDR5 at 1.5 gigs, so a little more. But this thing is kind of the same style, and you can tell that the cards, they typically had like art in the front. That was a very popular thing back then, for whatever reason. So. But yeah, this is the HD Radeon 5770. This is the first GPU I ever owned. Was given to me by my cousin in a system he had that he gave to me. And this thing lasted me a good 5 to 6, no, I would say 5 years before I had to upgrade it to a GTX 970 Strix, which I also still own, because I wanted to play the Star Wars Battlefront when they came out with that. And when I did that, you can't run modern games with this GPU because it didn't have any driver support at the time, and it just didn't have enough performance to even open the game. So, all right, so we're gonna install some drivers on this, see what kind of performance we get out of it. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with this GPU, so this video title may need to change to testing GPUs because there is nothing freaking broken to run into at the moment. But when we get to the Radeon card, we'll run into an issue. The fan on this thing is just freaking disgusting. Oh, it's gonna open Lego Universe. Don't do that. All right, so NVIDIA drivers. And we are looking for GeForce. Should be considered a 500 series card, I believe. Yeah, 500 series. Windows 10, 64-bit. So you don't have the option to select. It's just, huh. All right. Well. So it was not pulling up drivers. Okay. Can you even find these drivers on NVIDIA website? I would assume so. Yeah, 500 series. Windows 10. Start search. Yeah, so the last time this graphics card got driver support was in March 27th of 2018. So this thing has basically been out of commission for a good 6 years. Not that you would be playing much on it in 2018. I believe this graphics card doesn't even have support for this thing not. Driver download should have been complete. So, are we not getting? This thing is not downloading the driver. There's an issue with the link. Maybe more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I don't think this thing can run GeForce Experience. I don't think it's capable of. It doesn't have the proper software for that. Game ready driver. I know this does not have the ability to run Shadow Play or the overlay, but I don't know why. Are we really going to have to download GeForce Experience? Damn it. We're going to try to do it the GeForce Experience way. Really don't want to because I hate GeForce Experience. Yeah, so this thing cannot download GeForce Experience. Driver for GTX 580 because the link is broken on NVIDIA's website for the driver. This is another reason why you don't typically want to use these cards today. Simply because I like to mess around with this stuff. I like to mess around with this stuff. That's why I'm doing all this, but yeah, this link is broken, NVIDIA. They do not want you downloading this? Yeah, this is not working. Is there an older version of the driver we can download? This is a driver from 2011. I'm not going to be able to play anything on that. I don't know what's going on. Because this is the driver we need. But every time I click download, it just does not download the driver. And there's no like click this button to download the driver kind of deal. It's just your driver downloaded, should be complete soon. The stupid NVIDIA updated website. I swear. It's been causing so many issues. I swear this driver has caused so many, this like website update has caused so many changes and so many issues when downloading individual drivers, because they want you to download GeForce Experience, or not GeForce Experience. They want you to download GeForce Experience, but not a lot of people like to use it. And for one, when you're testing GPUs all the time, you don't want to relog into NVIDIA's GeForce Experience over and over and over again. It gets real old real quick. Yeah, it's just not downloading this driver. This is like the legacy page, but it's all funky. Like this thing is not. Yeah, blocked. Is there any way to search driver? Fuck. Excuse my language. Alright, so we're going to try it the old Windows way. So we're going to go to Device Manager. And we're going to see if Windows can do it for us. Can't believe I'm saying that. The best driver already installed on it. I don't believe that, but okay. If I go here, I have 500 series, find. Come on. This one's from 2017. That's a beta driver. We can do a few days before. There we go. So the one from March 20th thankfully works. Hopefully it doesn't have any major bugs on it. All right, so we're going to download this wonderful driver. And then we're going to see if we can run any games on it. I don't foresee us running anything other than maybe CS2. It definitely will not be able to run Apex Legends or COD or anything. So for perspective, we're on graphics driver 600. We're in the 600s right now. This is a driver version 391. So this thing is, like I said, 2018. This driver is ancient. Also, the CPU may possibly bottleneck, and a 9600K is a lot stronger. The old driver. Custom. Let's perform a clean install because it's probably just in case there's anything that DDU didn't grab. DDU is pretty good at grabbing everything, but sometimes DDU doesn't get everything in rare instances, and we don't want to run into any graphical issues and think it's the card. This light is not doing us any favors at the moment. I think if I turn on the overhead one, we'll be fine. Yeah. Let me go get a charger. We're gonna let that do its thing. Let it download the drivers. You good? I don't care if you come on. Oh, excuse me. All right. Ooh, I can't charge the phone when it's got the microphone plugged into it. All right. This looks like it's about to finish downloading these drivers. Oh, it did download GeoForce Experience. Damn it. That's what I was trying to avoid. All right, so it's got GeoForce Experience, but whatever. We have the drivers installed. All right, so we have what we need. Let's see what we can run on this thing. This thing has, like I said, a whopping 1.5 gigabyte of VRAM, so it's very old, but we got it for like $10, so I'm not complaining. If I open up GPU-Z, look at all the specs real quick. So it's a GTX 580. The die size is 520 nanometer. All right, that's millimeter actually. Never mind. We got 1002 megahertz memory core clock. Core clock GPU core clock is 772. And we can run everything but Vulkan and ray tracing, it looks like. Vulkan is not an option on this GPU, which kind of sucks. So let's see what this thing can do. So first test, Apex Legends. This is not, there's no way this game runs. There's no way in the world this game runs. I'd be super surprised. I think all we're going to get is Counter-Strike to work. Maybe Rainbow Six Siege, maybe we can get that to work on this GPU. But the performance too is going to probably be god awful. Again, we're oh my gosh, it's actually launching. Okay. This thing actually may work. There's no way. I would be very shocked if this even gets close to working. what I need to do, I need to turn on MSI Afterburner so we can get some info on this GPU. There's no way with this ancient graphics driver. I'm pretty sure Apex Legends came out in 2019. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, that's not a good sign. The loading screen, we're hitting 9 FPS while loading in. Yeah, there's no way this thing works. The whopping 1.5 gigs of VRAM. I feel like this is going to be a perpetual loading screen. There's, like I said, no way this thing decides to actually work. No, wait, we're loading into something. Firing range. It's weird that we're loading into the firing range because we didn't. Okay, for whatever reason, it loaded me into the firing range. We didn't even get into the... Holy crap, this thing is actually running Apex Legends. Again, Apex Legends is not a very graphically intensive game, but for whatever reason, the way it's made, it wants a better GPU. You can't really run it on... Can't always run it on a potato. So we're going to crank everything to the lowest possible setting, and it actually is running worse without texture streaming. If we use very low VRAM, it runs better. So this thing, I mean, it's not good. It's definitely not good. This thing is not, this is not playable, in my opinion, for a shooter. This is like 30 FPS. It's very choppy. It gets up into the 60s sometimes. Like if I restart the recorder for the... Like our 1% lows are hitting 28 at the moment FPS. So it's not like stuttering to the point where like we're like getting 2 frames every other, minute. But it definitely, the average is 43, and then I feel like we're regularly into the 30s, which is just not doable. Max FPS is 53 frames. So this is not something you'd be playing on. I'm just surprised that this thing could even run it. I thought it would be too much. It would be too modern of a game with too old of a driver to even run. So I mean, you definitely can't run. And again, keep in mind that if you bought a PC on Marketplace that had one of these, it's probably going to have a lot older of a CPU than this 9600K. So it probably won't run at all Apex Legends. So just keep that in mind. But okay, so that's interesting. That's very interesting that worked like that. And the thing is hot, man. This thing is freaking hot as hell right now. There's that blower again. Yeah, this thing. We're gonna crank up the fan. It's gonna sound terrible, but yeah, this thing is just not. Counter-Strike 2. See what kind of performance we get from it. I'm assuming this thing is gonna run it at I'm going to say 70 frames. My guess is 70 frames this thing runs at. They're already starting to cool it off substantially. That's what I'm talking about, guys. I mean, these blower cards, loud as hell. You have to run them at max, but they run a lot better and a lot cooler if you have that fan cranked. Luckily, we live in an age where blower fans aren't very common. But yeah, there's more optimal drivers. Yeah, there is not, buddy. All right, so I do have third-party software allowed, so all we can do is practice. So we're gonna have to do it with bots. Bots may lag the performance a bit, but since we have an i5 9600K, it shouldn't do too much. The CPU can handle the brunt of the bots. During CT, and this is running worse than I thought it would, I think. So let's open up monitoring. Yeah, this thing is running a lot worse. I thought it was going to run at 70 frames. But we're max is 75, or 1% lows are in the 30. And then our average FPS is about 60 frames per second. It's starting to go up. It's actually starting to warm up. And okay, the GPU is starting to warm up a little bit in the sense that it's starting to run it a little better. But there's definitely some parts of the map, I think, like mid, it was just really graphically intensive for it. Okay, so we're looking like an average 80 FPS. So if I restart this, let's see what our 1% lows is. Maybe it was just loading stuff in still, and that's why. So it's doing about what I thought it would do. It's actually doing a little better. It's got like 88 to 90 FPS is the average here. 1% lows is at 67, so we're staying above that 60 FPS mark. Now again, for an FPS like Counter-Strike, you probably want more frames in this, but it's playable. But again, for $12, if you just wanted to play a little bit of Counter-Strike, yeah, I mean, this is playable. I mean, it's not great. But then again, if you're spending money on a 9600K, which is, again, it's an older CPU, but you can't get them for like this ridiculously cheap, you might as well spend a little extra money on a GPU. But I mean, it runs. If I do opening the menu, though, just lags it immediately. For hitting tab, tab just kind of like, what? The initial tab click freaks it out. And the menu, too, it's like multitasking, so it's freaking out. All right, so we're going to, actually, I want to try running Counter-Strike at a lower resolution, because it's actually really common in an FPS like Counter-Strike is to run at 4:3. And how do I do this? Why can't I, oh, it's over here. It's where the GUI is. So if I do full screen, this thing can't even fathom more than 60 hertz. We'll do 4:3, and we'll do like 1152 by 86 is what I used to play at way back in the day when I would run at 75 hertz. And it's going to run windowed, of course, because it's not set up properly. But if we restart the analytics, I mean, our FPS is a lot. So this is way more playable. Like I can definitely see someone playing with this if they have really old hardware. Our lows is 74 FPS. That's our 1% low. Our average is 135 and the max is 176. So, I mean, again, not the best. You're playing a modern game, so you're probably going to want to play at 1080p. But, I mean, if you wanted to play at the max frame rate because Counter-Strike's competitive, and you played 4x3, I mean, you could get away with this if you had a decent CPU. But then again, I raise the question: if you have a decent CPU, you're not going to be running a GTX 580 in it. We'll run one more test through it, one more game. We'll have fun with it too. We're gonna see what can the GTX 580 do in Cyberpunk. I predict this one definitely. There's no way. There's no way this thing loads. I'd be so surprised if this thing even boots. This thing should crash as soon as we load into a game save. Yeah, flat lines. It crashed right on the start. Yeah, I don't foresee Cyberpunk working. There's no way. I like I said, I would be absolutely dumbfounded if Cyberpunk would even attempt to load. Yeah, look at that. Cyberpunk flatlines. Yeah, this GPU could not even load into the menu of Cyberpunk. You know, what I actually want to test before we take it out is Lego Star Wars: A Complete Saga, or the Skywalker Saga. Because my theory would be, if you're going to buy a GPU like this, you're probably putting it in some old hardware that you already own that you don't want to spend any extra money on, and you're probably building it or putting it together for someone like, you know, like a younger brother or a son or something, some kid that wants to play games like this. So I'm wondering what the performance in a game like Lego Star Wars is, because if it runs Lego games, I mean, even modern ones, it's not a big deal. I could see someone spending $10 on eBay to get one of these cards that basically have a functioning PC that they can, you know, have either their younger sibling or their son or daughter playing, you know, games like this on it and older titles. It's surprisingly running pretty well in the no, we're getting down there, 20 FPS when all the other characters load in. Yeah, this is continue game. Load successful. This thing's gonna run at like 20 FPS. That's the guess. No. 50 FPS? That is impressive for such low VRAM. This is like with all the default settings, none of the settings are cranked down. Oh, this is so playable. That's surprising. And again, Lego games aren't very graphically intensive, but 40 FPS from a card made in 2010 from a game that came out in the last year in 2023, even if it is a Lego game, that's not bad at all. I mean, that's with everything cranked. That is indeed with everything cranked. I wonder if we go in and let's say, I don't know, 720. We're gonna run it in 720p, see if we can get any extra FPS. Oh yeah, This is okay. So this is max graphical settings at 720p, right? This is running at a consistent. This is running at a consistent average of 70 frames per second. Like switching between characters and stuff, and I think there's a bike over here I can hop on. Oh yeah, this is doable. Like if you had a younger sibling, like I said, or like a son or daughter, and you really didn't want to spend any money on a GPU, and you had something already kind of lying around without a GPU, just plug this in, and it can get the job done for you. I mean, that's not bad at all. And it's dipped no further than 51 FPS. And again, it's 720p. But if you're a kid playing this, you're not gonna really care per se. That's impressive. That's more than I thought I would get out of something like this. Okay, that we're gonna be putting that to use in something down the line. I'm gonna keep it, but I'm gonna put it in some kind of maybe work PC or like research PC that I can have down here in the workspace. That is impressive. All right. Well, we got two GPUs that we went through. The third one I could go through. Where's it at? Let's take a look at it. I could go through with this and see what's going on, but it's going to probably take me a while to work on it, and the camera is dying. So we may have to come back another day. Maybe I'll do another live stream and we'll look at this right here. This is the RX 580 I made a video on recently. For whatever reason, it decided to kick the bucket. I don't know why. It still shows up everything on GPU-Z when I loaded in onboard graphics, but we can't get anything out of it. And I tried reflashing BIOSes and stuff like that, but now I'm having issues even flashing BIOSes on it. So I'm wondering if it's an actual hardware malfunction or just something's going on with it. So I'll probably get back with a video tomorrow on it, and we can live stream that. See me troubleshoot. Since I already made a video on this, I really don't want to spend any more time on it. But I obviously want it to function and work. So for myself, I'm going to try to work on it. If I can't get it to work tonight off camera, we will make a video. And if I fix it, maybe we'll go on camera and a quick little live stream explaining, what's going on with this thing and how I was able to fix it. Yeah, but thank you everyone that's watched the stream or tuned in. It's been a lot of fun. I love messing with these parts and stuff like that. I don't know why I'm weird like that. This GTX 580 works out of the box. Kind of expected that because bought it from like a Goodwill. And then our GTX 1070 that was supposed to not work works perfectly out of the box. So I don't know what to say, guys. I mean, I'm pretty excited about that. That's a quick, little easy flip there. So stay tuned. I'm going to have a video hopefully very soon on a GTX 1050 versus a 1050 Ti. Hopefully I'll have the footage for that done tonight and then have a video out tomorrow. And I know I always say that and it takes me several days to get it out, but working on that. So hopefully we get that video out and it'll be something neat for y'all to look at. So hope y'all have a great day.